This is Chris, the Idaho Painter here on Paint Live TV. Over the next couple days, I'm going to be putting Behr Dynasty paint. This is a one-coat hide, paint and primer in one, that is scuff resistant, mar resistant, and we're going to be putting this product to the test, and we're going to see if it does what it claims it does on the can. So if you want to know, is Behr Dynasty paint a paint you should use as a do-it-yourselfer or professional painter, stay tuned for this video. So today we're going to be using Behr Dynasty paint. I'm going to be painting a bedroom. It's going to be a really dark color and it's going to be a matte finish. Behr Dynasty, it claims it's a one-coat paint and it's scuff and mar resistant, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. I went and looked online, had rave reviews from a lot of professional painters, so we're going to put it to the test and see how it performs, and I'm going to let you know what I think of the product at the end, so stay tuned. So Behr's, in the instructions, it does say if you do have some heavy stains that could bleed through your paint, I'm not too concerned about it because this is a really dark color, so I think it's going to block it just in one coat, but it does say that you might need one coat to block the stains and then go over it, you know, with your top coat. But it's really light. I'm sure it's not going to show up. I'm sure it's going to block it. We'll find out. We'll put it to the test. So I'm getting ready to do my dark walls with my Behr Dynasty. Now, this is a really dark color. I'm going to show you the color right on the top. The color is right there. It's a super dark blue color, kind of a gray blue. The name of it is City Rain. So I'm just going to box the paints. One thing, I've never used this Behr paint before, but I got it kind of cool. The top screws right off instead of having to take the entire lid off, and it comes with apparently this pour spout. There's a pour spout right there, kind of cool. Figure out how it's used. It looks like it can be put on in different positions. So we'll test it out. So that's kind of cool. Don't have to take the lid all the way off. Make sure it's on there, and it pours out pretty nicely. Kind of like that feature, you know, with these. Also like, these are plastic gallons and not metal, so you'll see a lot of paints, metal gallon cans. Over time, when you keep them, they start to rust at the top. These will not rust because they're plastic. Pours out, make a mess. That's kind of really cool. So another little simple tip, I've got my Behr Dynasty paint. It's a really fast drying paint. I don't want to leave this bucket open, uncovered. I don't have a lid for it. A brush beanie is the perfect little option to keep your paint from skimming over. So I can set this aside. One of the interesting things with this paint, so I'm really accustomed to always doing two coats on a wall no matter what color I'm using. And so my process would be, I'd be putting one coat on the wall, and then I'm doing all my cut-ins, and then I do my second coat right over the top of that so you don't get any haloing, so you're not gonna have this big old roller mark around where you do your cut-ins around light switches, your ceiling cut-ins, and even your corners. So this is interesting because now I'm using something I've never done before. I've never run into a paint that's actually truly a one-coat paint. I did a test on there. I think it's actually going to be one coat, so it's going to kind of change my process now. I'll do my cut-ins, and then I'm going to go back and roll my walls. So I'm going to need to tape everything off, take my switch plates off, and then I begin painting. And I'm a one-man show, so I'll be just doing the cut-ins on one wall, rolling it, and then moving on to the next wall. So we're going to see how this performs. We're going to see if it truly is a one-coat paint. One thing I noticed, I read the TDS on the product, super high solids, The viscosity, it's not super thick. It's kind of got kind of a thin viscosity but high solids, and so I don't want to use a brush that's too stiff. I'm going to be using a Paint Life Brook brush right here. If it's too stiff, it might leave brush marks or drag the paint, and not cover the surface as well. And the Brook brush seems like it's doing really, really well with this paint. So you don't want it too soft, you don't want it too stiff. So we're going to see how the Brook works with this product here. Draws a nice line. This is a color it's going to be extremely challenging doing the cut-ins because I got really crooked ceiling lines. So I'm going to decide to take it up on the ceiling versus down. It's drawn really well with the tip of this brush. The wet hide is absolutely amazing wet hide. So it's definitely, wet hide is covering in one coat. So there's a difference between wet hide and dry hide. You could have a good wet hiding paint but a bad dry hiding paint, vice versa. So I'm going to draw a pretty long line there because it covers so well. The viscosity for doing a cut-in is just right. So it's covering in one coat. I'm putting it on nice and wet. So we're going to see how my cut-ins hang. I'm going to keep watching that wall because if those start to dry, I'm going to want to start rolling my wall. Simple tip when it comes to using a one coat hide paint, you want to make sure you're loading your roller up correctly. So another just quick observance of the paint too. I had a chance to do one wall, and because we're testing this paint out, I let that paint dry on that wall, and just to make sure we're not going to have to two coat things because it says it's a one coat paint. So looked at the wall today, absolutely incredible. I'm pleasantly surprised. The wall is covered 100% in one coat, which is absolutely amazing. And I gotta say too, there's no lap marks, which is incredible. There's no haloing at all, which is also incredible. I gotta say, it's almost a perfect looking wall with a very difficult color to paint with. In the sheen itself, I'm going to say the sheen looks absolutely amazing. All the imperfections in the wall, it's hidden them pretty well. All right, so I'm going to give you some of my final thoughts on Bear Dynasty's paint. So I've been using it for 2 days, so I'm going to give my opinion on the paint, whether it's something you as a professional painter or do-it-yourselfer should use. This is Bear's top-of-the-line paint. It's a one-coat hide, scuff-resistant, mar-resistant paint. It's a paint and primer in one with a limited lifetime warranty to the product. Now, once again, I'm a professional painter. Is this something I would continue to use in the future? So my initial thoughts of it, after my first test wall was done, the next day I looked at it, it was absolutely amazing. The finish looked amazing. It's a matte finish. The sheen looked awesome. Absolutely no hat banding, no haloing, no lap marks. I was very surprised, especially with a dark color like this. The cut-ins, the viscosity of the paint, a little bit thin, super high solids. I was a little bit worried about it not hanging and running. No runs on my cut-ins, no runs on the wall. It hung extremely well. Just a little bit of splatter, not very much splatter. The odor has some odor of chemicals. Obviously, that's going to help it dry. It's claims to be dry in 1 hour, which is going to make you get in and out of the job extremely fast. That's important for a professional painter. When you're painting 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms, you need to be able to get in and out, in a day in order to make money. The temperature was about 70 degrees. It was definitely drying within that hour time frame. Didn't dry too fast where I couldn't keep a wet edge on my overlaps. I was working one wall at a time because I was working alone, so it performed pretty well. Some of the other features about it, it may make a difference to you. It's an antimicrobial mildew resistant paint. That might make a difference, especially when you're painting in, say, a bathroom that has a mildew problem. So that might perform well for you. But all in all, it's being a one-coat hide paint. I was extremely surprised, as I'm not sure if I've ever seen a one-coat hide paint ever cover in one coat. Being the dark color that it was, City Rain, I had my doubts, but the next day, a close inspection of that wall, it was absolutely covered on one coat 100%. So just to go over just the scuff resistance, mar resistance, and then touch-up ability, I did some testing with a sample board on it. I did a daub test, I did a brush test, a roller test. The color is right dead on. I think the product's going to test up extremely well. If you have any touch-ups you got to do in the future, scuff resistance, mar resistance, light scuff, like marring with metal in a shoe, it wiped right out with a microfiber cloth. I'm not sure how hard it's going to take, what the rating of scuff resistance is, but from my light testing, it definitely just rubbed out with a microfiber cloth. So is this a product I would continue to use in the future? I mean, it absolutely performed amazingly well. As a professional painter, I've had the opportunity to use a lot of different paints, over the years, especially over the last 3 to 5 years. And I would say this is, Bear Dynasty is probably one of the best interior paints I've ever used. Pleasantly surprised, would definitely use it, in the future. I highly recommend it for do-it-yourselfers, and I would highly recommend it for professional painters.